I thought I knew my wife. 4 years of marriage, a little house in the suburbs of Portland, morning coffee together before work weekend hikes in the gorge. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. Then one Friday night, Madison sat me down after dinner and asked if she could carry a baby for her sister. Just 9 months, she said, like it was nothing, like those 9 months would not change everything between us. I looked into her eyes and saw determination I had never seen before. And right then, I knew this would break us. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe. Let me show you how one decision can shatter everything you thought was unbreakable. Madison and I got married when we were both 26. I was working as a software engineer for a tech startup downtown. She taught 3rd grade at an elementary school not far from our house. We lived in a modest 2-bedroom home with a backyard just big enough for a garden and maybe someday a swing set. We had been talking about starting a family. Not immediately, but soon. Maybe in a year or so. We wanted to travel to Alaska, first take that summer trip we had been planning. Life felt good, stable, predictable in the best way possible. Every morning we would wake up around 6:30. I would make the coffee while Madison toasted bagels. We would sit at our kitchen table, sunlight streaming through the window, and talk about our days ahead. On weekends, we explored hiking trails around Mount Hood or drove out to the coast. We laughed easily. We finished each other's sentences. Looking back now, I realize how much I took those moments for granted. Madison was close with her older sister, Jennifer. Jennifer was 3 years older, married to a guy named Brian for 5 years. They lived about 20 minutes away in a nicer neighborhood. Bigger house, better cars, the kind of life that looked perfect from the outside. But there was one thing they did not have: children. Jennifer had endometriosis, a condition that made it nearly impossible for her to carry a pregnancy. She and Brian had gone through 3 rounds of in vitro fertilization. Each time ended in heartbreak. Each time cost them thousands of dollars and took a massive emotional toll. I watched Madison cry with her sister after every failed attempt. I understood Jennifer's pain. I really did. But I never imagined that understanding would lead us here. That Friday evening started normally enough. We ordered Thai food and ate on the couch while watching a movie. Halfway through, Madison paused it. She turned to me with this careful expression, the kind you use when you are about to say something important. She started talking about Jennifer, about how devastated her sister was, about how the doctors said Jennifer would never be able to carry a baby safely, about how it was breaking Jennifer's heart. Then Madison said it. What if I could carry a baby for her? The words hung in the air between us. I sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, completely frozen. Madison kept talking. She explained it would just be 9 months. After that, we could still have our own children. This was the only way Jennifer could have a baby, with her own DNA, with Brian's DNA. Madison's eyes were bright, almost pleading. She said it felt like the right thing to do, like it was her duty as a sister. I put my fork down. My mind was racing. 9 months sounded simple when she said it like that. But I knew better. I had read articles about surrogacy, about how it could complicate marriages, about the physical risks, about the emotional toll. I thought about our plans to start our own family, about how this would delay everything, about how Madison's body would go through pregnancy, labor, delivery, all for a baby that was not ours. I asked her if she had really thought this through. Had she considered what it would mean for us, for our marriage, for our future? Madison nodded quickly. She said she had been thinking about it for weeks. She promised it would not change anything between us. It was just helping family. Just 9 months. But I could feel it in my gut. This was not just 9 months. This was going to be so much more. I told her I needed time to think. Madison's face fell. I could see the disappointment in her eyes, but she agreed. She said she understood. That night we went to bed in silence. She turned away from me, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, knowing our lives were about to change in ways I could not even imagine yet. Over the next few days, I could not stop thinking about it. I spent hours online reading everything I could find about surrogacy: medical journals, forum posts, personal stories. The more I read, the more worried I became. I found dozens of accounts from couples whose marriages fell apart during surrogacy, women who became emotionally attached to the babies they carried, husbands who felt abandoned and invisible, families where the boundaries got blurred and relationships became strained beyond repair. I learned about the physical risks too: preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, the possibility of needing a cesarean section, the hormonal changes that could trigger postpartum depression. And then there were the practical concerns. Madison would have to take time off work. We would lose her income. Medical bills would pile up even with insurance. And what about intimacy? Everything I read suggested that physical and emotional connection between spouses often suffered during surrogate pregnancies. On Wednesday evening, I told Madison I wanted to talk seriously. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place where we used to have our peaceful morning coffees. I laid out everything I had learned. I explained my concerns as calmly as I could: the health risks, the financial impact, the emotional toll, the potential damage to our marriage. Madison listened, but I could see her getting defensive. When I finished, she said I was overthinking it, that I was finding problems where there were none. She told me it was just 9 months. Why could I not trust her? Why could I not support her family? I tried to explain that it was not about trust. It was about protecting what we had built together. But Madison did not want to hear it. She said I was being unsupportive. That family should come first. I reminded her that I was her family too, that we were supposed to be each other's priority. The conversation ended with both of us frustrated. Madison cried. I felt guilty, but I also felt certain that I was right to be worried. We went to bed angry, and the distance between us felt like a canyon. Then the phone calls started. First, Jennifer called me at work. She was crying, begging me to reconsider. She said this was her only chance to be a mother, that I was standing in the way of her dream. I tried to explain my concerns, but she just kept crying. Then Madison's mother called. She told me I was being selfish, that I should be grateful to be part of such a loving family, that real men support their wives no matter what. Over the next week, I felt like I was under siege. Madison's family started treating me differently. We were not invited to Sunday dinner. Text messages from Jennifer and her mother became cold and short. I even saw a vague Facebook post from Jennifer about how some people only think about themselves. It was clearly aimed at me. At home, things got worse. Madison barely spoke to me. When she did, her tone was clipped and distant. She started sleeping in the guest room, saying she needed space. We stopped having any physical contact. No hugs, no kisses. She spent hours on the phone with Jennifer, their voices low and conspiratorial. I felt like a stranger in my own home. I tried to reach out to Madison multiple times. I wanted to talk to find some middle ground. But every attempt was met with coldness. She would say she was tired or busy. The warmth that had defined our marriage was gone, replaced by an icy silence that made every day feel unbearable. After 2 weeks of this torture, I decided to try one more time. I sat Madison down and told her that if she really wanted to do this, we needed conditions. Clear boundaries to protect our marriage. I listed them out carefully. There had to be a formal contract with Jennifer and Brian covering all financial aspects. Jennifer could not interfere in our daily lives during the pregnancy. Madison needed to see a therapist before and throughout the process. After giving birth, we would wait at least a year before trying to have our own child. And most importantly, Madison had to commit to prioritizing our marriage through all of this. I thought these were reasonable requests, compromises that would let her help her sister while protecting what we had. I waited for her response, hoping she would see that I was trying to meet her halfway. Instead, Madison exploded. She accused me of trying to control her. She said it was her body and her choice, and I had no right to dictate terms. I tried to explain that I was not trying to control her. I was trying to protect us. But she would not listen. If you really loved me, she said you would support this without conditions. I told her I did love her. That was exactly why I was worried. But Madison shook her head. She said if I loved her, I would not be putting up all these barriers. I was not protecting our marriage. I was destroying it with my selfishness. The argument escalated quickly. I told her that if she went through with this without considering my feelings, our marriage would not survive. She said I was threatening her. I said I was not threatening anyone. I was warning her. There was a difference. She screamed that she was doing this whether I liked it or not, that it was happening, and I could either get on board or get out. I sat there in silence, stunned. In that moment, I realized that nothing I said would change her mind. She had already made her decision, and I had no say in it whatsoever. Madison started crying and ran to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I sat alone in the dark living room, feeling our marriage crumble around me. 3 days later, Madison came home and announced that she had already signed the contract with Jennifer and Brian. She had not asked for my input. She had not tried to negotiate any of the boundaries I had suggested. She just did it. The in vitro fertilization process would start the following week. She told me this with a tone that made it clear she was not asking for permission. She was informing me of a decision that had already been made. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My wife had just made a life-altering choice without me. She had put her sister's needs above our marriage, above my feelings, above everything we had built together. I did not say anything. What was there to say? She had shown me exactly where I ranked in her priorities, and it was not first. The in vitro worked on the first try. Not only that, but Madison was carrying twins. 2 boys. Jennifer and Brian were over the moon. So was Madison's entire family. Everyone celebrated except me. I tried to be supportive, I really did. But I felt completely disconnected from the whole thing. These were not our babies. This was not our pregnancy. I was just a spectator in my own life, watching my wife carry children for someone else, while our own dreams got pushed further and further away. Then Jennifer started showing up at our house. At first it was once or twice a week. Then it became daily. Then she stopped knocking. She would just walk right in like she owned the place. She started making decisions about what Madison should eat. No caffeine, she said, no deli meat, more protein, more vegetables. She brought over supplements and vitamins. She reorganized our kitchen to make it easier for Madison to access healthy foods. Jennifer also insisted that Madison see a specific obstetrician, one who specialized in high-risk pregnancies. She made appointments without consulting me. She went to every single ultrasound. Brian came too. They would sit in our living room looking at ultrasound photos, planning nursery themes, discussing parenting strategies. I was right there, but they barely acknowledged me. It was like I did not exist. Madison did not see any problem with this. When I tried to talk to her about how invasive Jennifer was being, she said her sister was just excited, just nervous, just trying to be involved. I said Jennifer was not just involved, she was taking over our entire lives. Madison told me to stop being dramatic. But I was not being dramatic. I was watching my home become someone else's space, and my wife did not even care. I started staying late at work. It was easier than being at home where I felt like a guest, where I had to watch Jennifer rearrange our furniture plan, Madison's meals, and treat our house like her personal staging area for motherhood. Madison noticed I was coming home later, but did not ask why. She was too busy on the phone with Jennifer planning baby showers and shopping for tiny clothes. The pregnancy was harder than anyone expected. Madison had severe morning sickness. She threw up multiple times a day for months. Carrying twins exhausted her. By her 5th month, she was so tired that she had to stop working 2 months earlier than planned. Suddenly, we were down to one income, mine. The medical bills started piling up. Specialized vitamins, extra ultrasounds. Visits to a high-risk pregnancy doctor. Everything cost more than we had budgeted. According to the contract, Jennifer and Brian were supposed to reimburse us for pregnancy-related expenses. But when I brought it up, they said they were having financial difficulties. They asked if we could wait a few months. Madison immediately agreed without talking to me first. She said we could not ask them for money when they were struggling. I pointed out that we were struggling too, that I was covering our mortgage, all our bills, Madison's medical costs, and even buying things for the babies that Jennifer kept requesting. But Madison did not want to hear it. She told me to stop being petty about money. Our marriage became a hollow shell. Madison only talked about the pregnancy, the babies, or Jennifer. She never asked about my day at work. She never asked how I was feeling. We had not been physically intimate in months. We barely touched. She slept in the guest room every night, saying she needed space and extra pillows to be comfortable. I understood the physical discomfort of pregnancy, but it felt like she was using it as an excuse to avoid me entirely. I felt invisible. I was working myself to exhaustion to pay for everything. I was living in a house that no longer felt like mine. I was married to a woman who acted like I was an inconvenience rather than her husband. My friends started commenting that I looked tired and unhappy. I did not know what to tell them. How do you explain that your wife chose her sister over you, that you are funding a pregnancy for someone else's children while your own dreams die, that you feel completely alone despite sharing a home with another person? One night in Madison's 7th month, I tried one last time. I told her I felt abandoned in our own marriage, that I needed her to see what this was doing to us. Madison's response was immediate and angry. She said she was carrying twins for her sister, and I was making it about me. I asked when being her husband stopped mattering. She said I should be supporting her instead of complaining all the time. I asked who was supporting me. She had no answer for that. She just said this was temporary and I needed to deal with it. I gave her one final warning. If things did not change, if she could not find a way to make me feel like I mattered, I would not be here when this was over. Madison actually laughed. She said I would not leave, that I was too scared to be alone. Those words cut deeper than anything else she had said. She thought I was weak. She thought I would just accept being treated like I did not matter. She was wrong. The next day, I called a divorce attorney. I laid out the whole situation. The lawyer was not surprised. She said she had seen this exact scenario play out many times. Surrogacy often revealed fundamental incompatibilities in marriages. She explained my rights, the process, and what to expect. I started gathering documents. Bank statements showing all the expenses I had covered, emails and texts about the surrogacy, evidence of how Jennifer had taken over our lives. I opened a separate bank account and started moving money there. I found an apartment downtown, a one-bedroom place that was available immediately. I did not tell Madison any of this. I decided to wait until after she gave birth. I did not want to cause stress during the pregnancy that could harm her or the babies, but I knew what I had to do. I was done. Madison went into labor in her 9th month. The twins were delivered by cesarean section. 2 healthy boys. Jennifer and Brian were at the hospital the entire time, barely leaving the baby's side. They held them constantly, took hundreds of photos, cried tears of joy. I was there too, making sure Madison was okay, but I felt like a ghost. This was their moment, not mine. Not ours. After Madison came home from the hospital, Jennifer and Brian visited every day for the first 2 weeks. They brought flowers and gifts. They took more pictures. But then their visits became less frequent. They had 2 newborns at home and were overwhelmed. Madison was left at our house recovering from major surgery hormones, crashing, feeling empty. She had carried those babies for 9 months. She had felt them move inside her. She had given birth to them. And now they were gone. Madison started reaching out to me more. She wanted to talk. She wanted comfort. But I had nothing left to give. I had spent 9 months being ignored, dismissed, and treated like my feelings did not matter. I could not just flip a switch and go back to being the supportive husband she suddenly needed. 2 weeks after the birth, when Madison was physically recovered enough to handle stress, I asked her to sit down. We went to the living room, the same place where this whole nightmare had started. I looked at her calmly. I had been preparing for this moment for months. "Madison," I said, "I have filed for divorce." She stared at me like I had spoken a foreign language. "What, no? You cannot be serious." I handed her the papers. Her hand shook as she took them. Tears immediately filled her eyes, but she could not focus enough to read anything. "I warned you," I said. "I told you this would destroy us." But I thought she stammered. "After the pregnancy, I thought we could fix things." I shook my head. "You chose. It is my body, my choice. You said it yourself. Well, this is my choice." Madison broke down completely. She sobbed, saying she was sorry, that she had been wrong, that she would do anything to fix this. "Please do not do this," she begged. "I will change. I promise I will change." Every part of me ached. I still loved her, but love was not enough anymore. "I am sorry too," I said, "but I cannot stay in a marriage where I do not matter. You made your choice 9 months ago. Now I am making mine." She tried everything, promising therapy, promising to put me first, promising to never let Jennifer interfere again. But I knew these were just words spoken out of desperation. If she had really meant them, she would have done these things when it mattered, when I was begging her to see what was happening. Not now, when it was too late. Madison called her family. Jennifer came over crying, apologizing for interfering so much. But her apology felt hollow. She was not really sorry for what she had done. She was sorry that it had led to consequences. Madison's mother came too, telling me I was cruel for leaving Madison when she was at her most vulnerable. But what about when I was vulnerable? What about all those months when I was suffering and no one cared? Brian called saying I should give Madison another chance. But why? So she could ignore me some more, so I could keep being invisible. I refused everyone. I had made my decision. A week later, I moved out. I packed my things while Madison stood in the hallway crying. She begged me not to go, but I walked past her, carried my boxes to my car, and drove away. I did not look back. If I had, I might have changed my mind, and I could not afford to do that. The divorce took 4 months. Madison tried to delay it, hoping I would change my mind. But I did not. We divided our assets fairly. The house was sold. We each took our share. There were no children to fight over, no complicated custody arrangements. The lawyers handled everything professionally. Finally, the papers were signed. We were no longer married. I moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment downtown. The first few weeks were brutal. The place felt empty and silent. I missed Madison. I missed the life we had before all of this. I questioned my decision constantly. Had I been too harsh, too unforgiving? But then I would remember those 9 months, how invisible I had felt, how my needs and feelings had been completely dismissed, how Madison had chosen her sister over me again and again, and I knew I had made the right choice. It hurt, but it was right. Madison kept calling and texting. Every message was an apology. Every voicemail was a plea for another chance. I blocked most of them. The few I did read only confirmed what I already knew. She was sorry now because she had lost something, but she had not been sorry when she was actively hurting me. That was the difference. Slowly, I started rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work and got promoted within 6 months. My salary increased significantly. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during my marriage. They supported me, listened to me, helped me process everything. I started going to the gym regularly. I took up cooking and discovered I really enjoyed making Italian food. On weekends, I went hiking alone, finding peace in the quiet of the mountains. I joined a local hiking group and met new people. I was not ready to date yet. I needed time to heal, to figure out who I was outside of that marriage. But I felt alive again. I realized how much of myself I had lost trying to hold together a relationship that was already broken. Now I had the space to rediscover what made me happy. Through therapy, I learned a lot about boundaries and relationships. My therapist helped me see that while my choice is absolutely valid, as a principle, marriage requires mutual decision-making. When one person makes a major life choice that affects both partners without any real consideration for the other's feelings, that is not a partnership. That is one person doing whatever they want while expecting the other to just accept it. I learned that setting boundaries is not selfish, it is self-preservation. That loving someone does not mean sacrificing your own well-being on the altar of their desires. That respect is just as important as love, maybe more so. A relationship cannot survive if only one person is fighting for it. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away. I heard through mutual friends that Madison was struggling. Her relationship with Jennifer had become strained. After the initial excitement wore off, Jennifer rarely called or visited. Madison felt used and discarded. She was dealing with postpartum depression and profound regret. Part of me felt sad for her. But I also knew I could not save someone who did not want to be saved until it was too late. Madison had made her choices, and now she had to live with them, just like I had to live with mine. Looking back, I do not regret leaving. I gave Madison every chance. I warned her. I tried to compromise. I begged her to see what was happening to us. But she did not listen until everything was already destroyed. You cannot build a marriage by yourself. You cannot be the only one who cares. And you cannot stay with someone who makes you feel worthless just because you love them. I am building a life now that I am proud of. A life where I matter, where my feelings count, where I am not invisible. I have peace. I have freedom. I have self-respect. And that is worth more than holding on to a marriage that only existed on paper. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself enough to know you deserve better. And that is not selfish. That is survival. So let me ask you, have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying meant losing yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening, and remember, you deserve to be with someone who makes you feel like you matter. Take care of yourselves out there.